The winter of 1197 had been cruel. The earth in the village of Moravia lay frozen, the wind howling like wolves through the church steeple. When Father Armand was called to the edge of the graveyard, he expected another funeral, but what he saw made him drop his crucifix. The soil of a freshly buried grave had been clawed open from the inside. The coffin lid lay shattered, its splinters soaked with blood. Villagers whispered of cursed souls and strigoi, the undead. But this was not just peasant fear. Father Armand, a man of books and Rome's teachings, had read something years ago in a forbidden text buried in the monastery crypt. Some dead do not sleep, some return not as spirits, but as bodies with hunger. The church had denied such things publicly, but in secret, they documented them. Part 2, the church's quiet panic. By the 13th century, reports of revenants, souls, trapped in reanimated corpses, began, spreading like plague across Eastern Europe. These were not ghosts. They were bodies that walked, fed, and screamed in languages long forgotten. Inquisitors arrived quietly, armed not with scriptures, but with stakes and fire. In Krakow, a bishop ordered an entire cemetery exhumed after a string of suffocation deaths in children, each marked with crescent-shaped bruises on the neck. Some clergy wanted to call it the devil's work, but others knew Lucifer tempted the soul. These things devoured the flesh, and worse, they did not obey even hell's rules. To the church, this was more terrifying than sin. It was chaos, a corruption of life and death, something outside their doctrine, something they could not exorcise. Part 3, Blood on the Altar. There are stories the Vatican never published. In a forgotten abbey near the Carpathian Mountains, the monks stopped ringing the bell at dawn. When a papal messenger arrived, he found the chapel drenched in red. The crucifix had been torn from the altar. A monk, still alive, now barely, carved one word into the stone floor with his fingernails. Sanguinem, blood. Witnesses claimed the abbot had welcomed a traveler days before, a pale man with black eyes, silent as snow. After his visit, the brothers grew feverish, began dreaming in tongues. The abbot's journal, later confiscated, recorded his final sermon, The Devil We Know. But this creature drank of Christ's chalice and mocked it. After that day, Rome rewrote its guidelines for burial rites and quietly began funding vampire hunts in the East. Part 5, the truth buried beneath the cross. By the 1400s, the church no longer spoke publicly of vampires. But their fear had not faded. It had merely gone underground. Secret orders were formed. Scrolls written in blood were locked beneath cathedrals. And the faithful, they were told it was heresy to speak of the undead. But in hushed corners of abbeys, candles still burned through the night. For the priests knew something terrible. The devil tempts you with sin. But a vampire consumes your body, your soul, and leaves you walking, condemned, not damned, forgotten by heaven, rejected by hell, a soul with nowhere to go. And that, more than any demon, shook the church to its knees. Because what do you pray when even God has turned his face away?